I can't. I can't, guys. I can't do this shit without laughing anymore. It's hard. It's really, really hard not to just fucking go into fits of laughter when you're talking about this game. Is it just me, or do the developers not actually know what they're doing? Like, it's actually crazy to me that we are, again, having this issue. Well, let's talk about Legion, because we have to do that again. We have to talk about Legion again in November of 2019, because the developers obviously weren't thinking, so now we have some issues that we have to go over. All the survivor mains are worried. Okay. So, in case you have been living under a rock, the Legion was just buffed. I heard there were a few issues. I read its changes, and I was like, what the hell's wrong with you guys? There's nothing wrong with these. Mend times takes less time to mend. Frail Frenzy never counts as a basic attack. Those are both nerfs, so I got a little frustrated when I read those. But then it's like, okay, because but then he gets pre-patch vaulting time back. So I'm like, oh, they're just being babies. Oh, and then you realize what they're doing with some of these perks. Yeah, there's a few problems here. Okay, so let's see what they did. This is the problem, ladies and gentlemen. Updated several killer perks with the undetectable status effect. That being Insidious, Beast of Prey, Dark Devotion, and Tinker. Obviously, Insidious this isn't going to apply to. Beast of Prey, Beast of Prey is the one to worry about. Dark Devotion and Tinker are two really gimmicky. Tinkerer and Oni's new perk, Nemeshit, are the ones that everybody's talking about. I think it's called Nemeshit. The one where you get stunned and you automatically become the new obsession and are given the oblivious status effect for 45 seconds. What's the problem here, ladies and gentlemen? The problem is, in that interaction right there, her deep wound timer starts ticking down. Because if I'm running the perk Nemesis, and I get stunned by a pallet in the deep wound interaction, like you could trade. You do the trade, and then you stun him with the pallet, and then that person becomes a new obsession. Deep wound timers now work off the terror radius, and so since she just became oblivious, and she became my obsession and oblivious while I'm running the perk Nemesis, her deep wound timer starts ticking, and we have pre-patch Legion all over again. And so Beast of Prey, I believe, works when you get Bloodlust, you now become undetectable, which also makes the person you're chasing's deep wound timer begin to tick down. In other words, again, we have pre-patch problems all over again. The problem here being that your deep wound timer is still ticking, but you cannot stop to mend it because he is right behind you. Either way, you're going down. This is a no counterplay situation. This is something that, like, we begrudgingly have to say survivors are right about this. There's no counterplay that they can actually do to avoid getting down in this particular situation. They have like a whopping 5 seconds to lose Legion, which yeah, good luck with that. So this is not good. This is, needless to say, this is not good. So we are at a state of the game, and oh yeah, not to mention that Frank's mixtape is going to be a problem again, because when your deep wound timer is ticking down because of the devs' great game design, and Legion has Frank's mixtape, Feral Frenzy now can become another problematic thing that can actually down you again. And he has pre-patch vaulting speeds to make it even better, so the power is now just unavoidable again. Granted, you can juke it now and he automatically loses it, but like, still. We are now in a situation where the pre-patch version of this character is basically back. So what do we do about this? Well, this is what the devs are probably going to do, because this is a potentially game-breaking scenario. Because this is something that can't really be fixed with the snap of a finger. Because if you make it so Legion, if you make it so while you're in a chase, your deep wound timer doesn't go down, that brings the moonwalk exploit back into the game, where Legion can just stop chasing you, and then if it doesn't work off the terror radius, I guess maybe they could try to do both. If you were in a chase or in the killer's terror radius, they could try to do that. That would fix it, I guess. But no, because like if you're oblivious, because that would be, well, that's still an issue, because if you are oblivious and not in a chase, your deep wound timer still starts ticking. So this is still pre-patch issues. So that doesn't fix it, actually. Because you can just not be in a chase. The Legion can just sit there and kind of stalk you while not actually engaging in the chase. So yeah, this is a fucked situation. and what do you do about it? Well, for the one solution you could do is delay the perk buffs. Just don't put these buffs in the game yet for these perks. It's in the PTB right now. Just don't bring these perk changes to the main game. That's one way to fix it. Just delay the perk changes. But again, let's talk. That's probably what they'll do. But like, this is why issues with the fucking Dead by Daylight developing team. They always take the lazy way to fix stuff. They always go, okay, what's the laziest way to possibly fix this situation? Like the Infinites on Haddonfield. Let's just nerf balanced landing. How do we change nerfs? Give her power or cooldown. Like, it's the laziest way you could possibly think of to fix the situation. They don't really know what they're doing. They don't think about what would be the best possible thing for the game Dead by Daylight. They think about the lazy scenario. The lazy scenario here is delaying the perk changes until they figure something else out. What they need to do is rework Legion. I have been saying this since early this year. They need to sit down and redo this character. This character has a problematic base kit. And the reason for that is this fucking deep wound was very poorly implemented into Dead by Daylight. And the fact that we have a character that's centered around this core mechanic, this mechanic isn't working. It's not working. And giving a character centered around a thing that's not working is now stifling the creativity of people trying to design perks and trying to give things cool new ideas for killer perks. Like, yeah, giving killers the undetectable status effect from, like, a Burke was like a no-brainer on paper, but the problem is Legion can abuse it, because his base kit is very problematic and poorly designed. Because they weren't thinking. They weren't thinking when they made it. So you have to rework Legion. You have to. You have to sit down and actually redo the character. Give him a new kit. How hard is it? I gave a lot of suggestions on my actual rework Legion video about because impossible things you could do to rework him. This character isn't nothing. He actually has potential for an actual power that's not what he has right now. This fucking deep wound shit has got to go. It's not working. And they fixed it for a little bit, but like as they tried to like expand the game, Legion can easily just get in the way of that. And obviously it shows that the developers weren't thinking about it when they fucking made this. They weren't thinking about Legion. Which only proves one thing. If this proves anything, it's just that when the devs are designing new perks, they're not thinking about every killer in the game. They're not running all the scenarios in their heads. They're not having people test this fucking shit at their fucking HQ or whatever it is before it gets into the PTB. Testing their game is our fucking job. They're not thinking about it. Nope, it's like not one person said, hey, you guys know that fucking Legion's gonna fucking break the game? They're not thinking about that shit. Because they're borderline incompetent. Like, it's actually amazing to me where we are right now in terms of this game. the amount of, like, not thinking the development team is doing. Which, I don't understand how, though. How are we at this point in the game where they're not actually thinking about anything but Survivor stuff, it would seem. To where they overlooked this grave aspect of one of the killers that makes these perks not work. And it makes these perks not able to go in the game the way that they are currently written. Nemesis is like a garbage perk on everybody else. Like, it doesn't really do anything for anybody else. But Legion, it fucking turns S tier. But because Legion's... that doesn't have to do with Nemesis. That has to do with Legion's base kit being a problem. And being problematic. As much as I hate that fucking word. It turns... This character turns creative ideas into borderline broken ideas. Or just ideas that can't go in the game because of poor game design. And, like, I say this, I like Legion. I do like Legion. I do. I don't think he's the best thing ever. I think that, in terms of the last 2 years, he's the biggest mistake that the development team has made. He has a lot of issues. A ton of issues. But, like, I think the character deserves to be here. And I think that there is something that we can do with him that besides this fucking feral frenzy leap over, like the fucking leap over pallets part's not even bad. The problematic part is the deep wound feral frenzy stuff. It is just a base kit that just doesn't work. And like, it doesn't even work, like, it just doesn't work. Like, a lot of people don't even find him fun. I mean, I like the idea of vaulting over the pallets. I think that was what they really were trying to center him around. The problem is they didn't really do it right. So it's this awkward place that we find ourselves in with the character and with the devs in general. It's like they were just exposed for being lazy and incompetent and not testing anything. And I think, like, I'm not going to go into all my ideas on reworking Legion because I already did that. But we are at a point in the game where we need to fix the character because he's officially hurting the game's future. He's officially making it harder for the devs to, like, design stuff. I don't understand why they won't rework him, like, for their own standpoint. From their own standpoint, they have a reason to sit down and take another look at this character because he's now stifling their creativity. He's now making it harder to design functional perks without, like, destroying the game. Like, everyone's like, super, like, spooked. I don't think he's gonna get into the game the way that he is. Like, those perks are not coming to the game if they're gonna make Legion an issue again. With how big of an issue that he was upon coming out. Like, I truly do not think the devs will ever let that happen again. I think that this was an oversight. I think they really, really fucked up. And so, I don't think that the perks are gonna see their buffs yet. I think they really need to sit down and look at this character again. And they need to decide what they're going to do to fix him. And, like, again, I've had ideas. And I'm sure other people have had ideas about what to do with him. But, like, the biggest thing that you have to do is delete this fucking deep wound oblivious, his chase. He's proven that his chase, the way that Legion does a chase is very easy to break. It's very easy to, like, fucking break. Like, the way it is right now is okay, because if, like, the survivors have all the counterplay in the world, if the Legion finds you when you're mending now, it's entirely your fault. Entirely. He has the biggest possible terror radius in the game. He can't down you with Feral Frenzy anymore. Unless you're really getting hit by Frank's mixtape still. Like, seriously. If you're getting fucking... If you are getting down while you're mending, it's entirely your fault at this fucking point in time. So, again, that leaves us in a weird state where... I mean, the character can't ever be good. They need to sit down and relook. They need to sit down and relook at him. And that's the only thing I can say about this. Yes, he was a mistake. It's time to sit down and design a new kit for him. I don't know what you do. That's entirely up to you, but You gotta sit down and actually rework this killer. It's time. I think, like, I just want him to be good. I want him to be better. Like, I don't want any killer to just sit there and be bad. I don't want that. So, like, please, for your own fucking standpoints, for you guys, for the devs designing stuff in the future, rework the fucking Legion, please.